This is the Ajazz K620T mechanical keyboard. Of course, this is a black mechanical keyboard with linear switches and an RGB backlit. Now, I wasn't expecting this to be black, and I wasn't expecting this to be have linear switches, but I'll get into that in this video. This is my first impressions of this keyboard. Let's get into it. This is Everyday Tech. My name is Patrick, and this is my new YouTube channel. This is Everyday Tech for Everyday People. And now that we're working from home, or at least I'm working from home every day, I wanted to make sure that I maximized my experience at home and made sure that I was both most comfortable and most productive. That includes all the different peripherals and different accessories that I have for my home office. I wanted to maximize my productivity and comfort as I'm down here. So one of the ways I did that was I got a mechanical keyboard. And the first mechanical keyboard that I got was the Kickstarter K2 mechanical keyboard. But recently there was a new Kickstarter project that came on board, and it was the Ajazz K620T. Now this is distributed by a company, or maybe even manufactured by a company called Epomaker, and they make a lot of different mechanical keyboards. The more you customize things, the more expensive it gets. This is not very customizable necessarily. I can take the keycaps off and customize some of the keyboards, but with both of these keyboards that I have here, they're very affordable, but the amount of customization you can do is very limited. In the beginning I said I wasn't expecting this to be black, and I wasn't expecting these keys to be linear. The linear keys have to do with these keys that are not clickable or have these tactile feel, and you can get more clickety type, more tactile type switches, and I was expecting that. Anyway, I would just say up front, with Kickstarter there's always a risk involved, and then there's always a risk involved with the company itself not being able to fulfill their promise of making products, because a lot of Kickstarters are just prototypes. But also there's problems with manufacturing, there's problems with fulfillment. And again, I would say there was a fulfillment issue with this project, but I'll get into that later in this video. But here I want to give you my first impressions of this keyboard. So let's take a quick look at this keyboard. First of all, when I turn this on, this is how the keyboard, or at least the mode, was set to. And it was this glowing RGB light, which is kind of cool. But I didn't know how to change the mode, at least not right off the bat. One of the main cons that I would say is there are no instructions for this keyboard. And I had to look actually on the Kickstarter page to see some of the functions that they put. They actually diagram some of the functions on the campaign itself, but nothing on the box. There is no documentation, and as far as I know, there's nothing on the Epomaker website as well. It is a very new keyboard, and so I'm sure that will change, but everything that you have to do here is related to this function key. If I hit function and I hit one of these buttons up there, well, that corresponds to some of the media buttons on my Mac keyboard, and I'm sure that also relates to the Windows side of things as well. But eventually I learned that I can switch modes by hitting function and the backslash right here. And then this left bracket one does the brightness level of the keyboard backlit. And then this key also does something else, I'm not sure. If you want the arrow keys, you have to hit function, and then these are the up, down, left, right keys right here. These are some of the things that you'll have to play around with, and of course after you play around with it for a while, then you kind of get used to it. So that's not a deal breaker necessarily, but anyway, it's something to consider. And again, I use the tilde key. I use that single kind of quote key for my programming, and so I have to hit function and escape, and that'll also do the same thing to do that key. And I had to, in my Mac, switch these two keys. Right now it says Win and Alt, but really this is Command and this is Alt on my keyboard now, or Option should I say, in the in my Mac. So as you can see, compared to the Keychron, the Keychron is a little bit wider. It does have the extra buttons here, does have the extra rows here. This is not the original keys for this keyboard. They were gray itself, and I bought some white keycaps to kind of customize it. So that's kind of one of the nice things of why you get a mechanical keyboard as well. But as far as this keyboard is concerned, this one is a lot heftier, as I said before. And anyway, it's a very well built keyboard. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm still getting used to the layout. I need some of my buttons. I need this key, and I'm used to the escape key being over here, so I tend to hit this accidentally when I'm doing escape. But I could see myself getting used to this. I'm recording this portion of the video the day after the other portions, but in the short time I've had it, I am getting used to pressing Alt or Function with the arrow keys. So a lot of times, a lot of my workflow is trying not to pick up my mouse here and just using the keyboard only. That includes doing modifier keys, using the arrow keys, and doing a lot of Alt tabs. And then that Alt tilde, or I should say Command tilde, lets me switch between windows of the same application. So that's another thing. So in order for me to do that, I have to do Command Escape with the Function key down. So anyway, these are the different things that aren't necessarily related to this keyboard in particular, but into mechanical keyboard layouts in general. You just have to know which layout you want to get into. Overall, I'm enjoying typing on this. So now let me get into as far as the issues I've had with this keyboard. First, let me start with the Kickstarter campaign. The Kickstarter campaign actually went pretty smooth. I thought they were doing very well as far as the surveys they were sending out, the communication they had. And this is a bigger company. They've done a number of Kickstarter projects, and they are a real company that do sell actual keyboards. So they were using Kickstarter as kind of a pre-sale type of campaign. And actually, I don't really mind that at all. Some people have a problem with that. But the thing is, I ordered a white keyboard. And I ordered one with tactile fields. So my Keychron, I got it with red switches. It was my first mechanical keyboard, and I feel like I want that tactile feel. But anyway, I didn't know the difference really back then, and I was hoping that this keyboard would give me that experience and ultimately help me decide what kind of type of switches I would like on a mechanical keyboard. So I received a black one with linear switches. Now, I'm not the only one, actually. And as of 3 o'clock Eastern time, there were so many comments of different people either receiving the wrong one, or one person said, I ordered two, only got one. We're going to see a lot about how this company does and how they operate, on how they fix this problem. Okay, so a little bit of an update. This is about 2 or 3 days after I received this keyboard. So Epomaker did respond, and they did acknowledge that there was a mistake on a batch of some of the shipments, which is okay, which happens. And so what did they do about it? Well, they basically said it was a little bit too much trouble to return it, which I get. A lot of tariffs, a lot of different things going on. Taxes, and even the amount of time that it would take to receive it and to ship it out again. So they offered two types of solutions here, or two options. One, to get a refund for about half the value of the keyboard, which is kind of cool of them, or with a little bit more than half credit to their store. And remember, they are an actual retail store or online store or an actual manufacturer or maker of these keyboards. And so just for a little bit more money, you can get another keyboard. How much more? About 15, well, anywhere between $15 to $90, depending on which keyboard you choose. So yeah, I'm not going to say which one I opted for, but yeah, good on them and trying to make this right, especially for a Kickstarter project. Even though they are using this as a kind of a pre-sale type of campaign, but yeah, good on them. So that's on the Kickstarter part of things. Now, as far as the keyboard is concerned, the major cons I have is this is a very Windows-centric keyboard, meaning that you have to do some stuff in software to make the keys right. And then, on my Keychron, there's a switch for me to switch back and forth between Windows and Mac keys. And actually, this Keychron came with Windows-specific keycaps that I could switch in and out. This one didn't. You're stuck with this Win key right here, and I'll probably switch these two keys right here because I'm mainly on my Mac. So that's one thing that you have to deal with. And then the other major thing is, and again, this may or may not be a big deal to you once you get used to the keyboard, there was no instructions that came with this keyboard. So I had to really figure out things myself. Again, not the biggest deal, but something you have to contend with for sure. Now, would I recommend this keyboard? In general, I would say no. If you're looking for a mechanical keyboard and you know what you're getting yourself into, you know that you want linear switches, you know that you know the different layouts, you realize you don't need the arrow keys and different things, you already know what you're getting yourself into, then this is a great keyboard at a great price. It has great feeling keys, and it's a very well built keyboard. But for the everyday person, it's going to be tough. It's going to be this might be a tough everyday keyboard, especially an entry-level one as well. My recommendation is to get the Keychron line of keyboards. They do have some with even the number pad as well. They do make a low-profile version of the keyboard, but overall, this is not as versatile as that one. This is a very Windows-centric type of keyboard as well. Which it's a good thing for you Windows user. For you Mac users like myself, or switch between the two like myself, this is not as versatile, or you're gonna have to do some customization in the settings in your computer. The nice thing is this does work well with the tablet computers, and it does have a volume rocker. But other than that, I wouldn't recommend this for the everyday person. I would just recommend if you want to get into mechanical keyboards, I would get the Keychron line of keyboards. But before you buy a mechanical keyboard, make sure you do some research. Try to get a better idea of what kind of switches you want. Do you want a tactile feel, or do you just want that kind of linear feel? And then know that how much customization are you going to want to do with these keyboards. Remember, the more customization, the more expensive a keyboard can get. Anyway, this has been Everyday Tech, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one.